And hello, everybody. It is Tom Chenault. It's the Tom Chenault Show. I hope you're having an unbelievably great day. This is going to be an unbelievable show. And it's kind of be a kind of an egg and ham or ham and egg, because I have got by far the most positive, most upbeat, most Christian, most spiritual, most unbelievable guy you're ever going to want to meet in your life on the front half of the show. His name's Bob Beaudine. And James, the producer, just told me the book was upside down. This is my first rodeo, but I love Bob Beaudine, and this book I love, but not as much as his first book. His first book truly changed my life, and you have to know why. I read it. I was at the airport. I got the book. I read it. I said, this is the most unbelievable book ever. Everybody needs to read it. Everybody needs to have it. It was called The Power of Who. I got off the airplane. I tracked him down. I acted like Mr. Big Shot, told him I was bigger than Rush Limbaugh. He believed me, even though it wasn't true. And as a result, he came on my show and he sent me the books. And the rest is history, because everybody, you guys are all chasing down leads, and it's insanity. Don't do that. Everybody that you need to know for you to be successful in your life, you already know. You are just terrible at getting those people to help you. And I am going to prove it in this show. I've never been more excited in my life. Bob Beaudine is one of the greatest guys. He called me up one time and said, do you want to go to a baseball game? I go, yeah, that would be pretty good. Where? He goes, come down to Dallas. So I go down to Dallas. He's on the board of directors of the Dallas Cowboys. No, that's football. Of the
Texas Rangers.
So here comes, so he picks me up in like an Aston Martin convertible. So I'm already intimidated as heck. And we go in and we drive by the stadium. The stadium workers are all waving at Bob. I mean, the guys working in the parking lot, which warmed my heart, because I love people. I like that more than the muckety mucks. We pull into the stadium, and the avenue's like Owner's Avenue. And so we go straight under the stadium, and then it's Board of Directors Boulevard or something like that. Bob comes swinging around, Mr. Bob Beaudine, pulling the parking slot. People are running out there. They're opening the doors. They're combing his hair. They're putting makeup on him. We make a beeline in, and we go right up to the owner's box. We walk in the door. There's some guy like 95 years old. I have no idea who he is. And he sticks out his hand and says, Mr. Beaudine, who's your friend? And he goes, this is Tom. Anyway, Tom, meet Charlie Pride. And that started it. Charlie Pride is this incredible country western singer. That just started it. So then we sit there watching the baseball game. There is food everywhere. We start watching the baseball game, look down, and there's a guy waving at us like this going, come on. So Bob goes, oh, we got to go down to the owner's box. So we go straight down to the field. There's George Bush's bunker, because he was the president. And it's just the craziest deal you've ever seen. We go down there. It's the same thing. And we're watching the baseball game, and all of a sudden this player comes over. He's on the on-deck circle. He's like the most valuable player. I don't remember what his name was. And he goes, hello, Mr. Beaudine, who's your friend? And Bob goes, Tom Chenault. And the guy walked over and handed me a baseball through the fence. That's called stick. So with that, I want to introduce you to Bob Beaudine. Really, truly, the most connected, coolest guy I know in the world. How are you, Bob?
Man, I'm great. I'm connected. I'm cool because I know you.
Holy man. And you send me more text messages and love to that effect than literally anybody I know. And that because I'm supposedly part of a very short list of your Who group, which I cannot believe I'm on the short list. I'm probably on the extended list. But I am going to tell you one thing. You make me feel better about myself than literally anybody I know. And I have tried to emulate what you do to literally everybody I know. And where I learned that from wasn't contact mapping. It wasn't born yet. It was this book called The Power of Who. And if you do anything on this show, you go buy this book. So starting there, what's going on, Bob?
Things are as exciting as they, on one side, you get this fantastic aspect that you get to write books, but the rest of the side, as an executive recruiter, CEO, we've just moved into new headquarters. We're doing really fun stuff. We we get a chance always to work for people who are CEOs, kind of like yourself, Tom, where you get to solve a problem. That's what we like doing. We like to come into a situation, no matter what it is, and find that one person who could make a difference, who could change the culture, bring that extra pizzazz, right? That could all of a sudden lift everybody up and take them to new heights, because they don't see trouble except as an opportunity in disguise. And so that's what we try to do. That's our goal. And so this is our 52nd year of doing it. I had the joy of working for my dad, and now it's my 39th year. Holy cow, what happened?
But so Eastman Beaudine was this, and I describe it 10 times better than you do, so I'm going to do it just because I know your life. His dad was so successful, you would not believe it, at executive placement in manufacturing companies. So yeah. Bob graduated from college. You could see he looks like a movie star. And the next thing you know, he is traveling to Kansas in all these horrible manufacturing places. He can't even breathe. He's got asbestos in his lungs, and he's absolutely obsessed with sports. And he does not want to do this. He wants to do sports. And because he's his dad's son, just like my son, Adrian, he was always complaining to his dad. And his dad finally said to him, Bob, if you love sports so much, figure out a way to make a living at it. And Bob goes, holy mackerel, I could become an executive placement recruiter in the sports world as easy as these dusty manufacturing places. And the rest is history, right?
It is. And one of the hard parts in life is declaring it to start with, right? Your dream, to say to everyone around you, to your friends and your family, this is what I want. And a lot of times, we just fall short of that. We keep those dreams to ourselves. And so when I did that to my dad, he looked at me and said, yes, you should do that. And so the surprise of all of it is that he said that you'd know people already that could open a door to help you. And so wouldn't it be a shocker if my opening search is the commissioner of baseball? And so the guy who's giving me the searches on our board, and I didn't even know that he used to do baseball. And I just thought of him as an insurance guy, right? And he was vice chairman of an insurance company, and he picked that. And so that was a great opportunity for me at that time to expand my who in sports.
Yeah, but Bob, contact mapping is interviewing people, documenting people. Had you really interviewed those people beyond them being on the board of your dad's company, there would have been a world of opportunity, but we're so one-dimensional. All we have is our agenda, and we never see beyond it. And what you taught me was that my Rolodex has far more power in it if I get to know the people versus just their name and phone number. You taught me that, and that's exactly what you did. And the commissioner of the National Football League, Roger Goodell, named Bob Beaudine the most powerful man in the National Football League you've never heard of. You got to be kidding me. That's this guy. And how did that happen? Because of the power of his connections. Talk about that a little bit, Bob.
I would have called the book The Power of Friendship, but everybody has 5,000 people on social media that's their friends, right? And so we've taken friendship and we discount it. We don't see our friends as resources and conduits to our dream. So we leave out the people we were given. What if you were given people in your life, family and friends, to help you in ways you never imagined? And I say to people all the time, if you have 100 friends and I had 100 friends, we don't have 200, we have 10,000. Your friends have friends. No, we don't have 100 friends, but if we had 50 friends, we'd have 2,500. Can you imagine? Here's the reality. If you had one close friend, you're blessed. 3, rich. 12, we change the world. Now listen, God set that up 2,000 years ago. I didn't set that up. This is part of the program.
The world. That's cool.
He changed it. Everyone still knows who he is. And 2,000 years later, he's still signing recruits and still doing deals. It's unbelievable.
So the name of the game is squeezing that gigantic list down to the point that you know who is paying you, where the power is, and going that route versus trying to get more and more superficial relationships like they're doing on Facebook and everywhere else, right?
Yeah, it's 100%. And so here's the problem is that what if you made a list of where you really wanted to go that was written on your heart? That was something that was so much something, because success is geographical. And you could tell me the 3 to 12 companies you'd like to join and the people who run that. And then what if you asked your friends and family if they knew them? I'm going to tell you right off the bat that the shocker is they do. Each of our friends know one person who knows another person who could introduce us to the deal. So listen, 87%, not 13% of all jobs and all deals are placed by a friend. 94% of the reason you get the job is because we like you. And that was because of references, endorsements, and testimonials. If talent was the reason everyone got jobs, we wouldn't have Congress and Senate.
Wow. That's 100% right. You got it. That's exactly right. Is that crazy enough?
This is so simple and so obvious. And that's the thing that we need to give people. So if you and I are best friends and I asked you for help, would you help me?
Yes.
Why would you deny me the same joy of helping you? See, there's two parts of my
ego. I'm not going to call you for 20 bucks.
It's crazy. That's exactly what everyone does. They get into their own way. They get their head into their own way. And I like helping you, but I shouldn't ask. So what are you going to do? Go out to a bunch of people who are strangers and start asking them for your job? First off, no one likes cold calls. No one likes sending out mass emails. Wouldn't it be fantastic if I knew the right people who would open the door for me? Listen, you were created for that. It's supposed to be so much easier, and yet we get in our own way.
Powerofwho.com is where we want to send them.
Send them to bobbeaudine.com.
Bob Beaudine. Pamela, put that in the comments. bobbeaudine.com. I am telling you guys, this book changed my life. This book birthed contact mapping. This book is if you don't buy this book, I'm coming to your house. We'll be back right after this. Hello, Adrian. And we're back. We're at commercial now.
He means that.
I'm coming to their house, man. Richard Brooke
knows where you live.
Richard Brooke, I'm coming over to your house. You might as well face facts, buddy. I got AJ Spalding on here. We got Jennifer Velasek, unbelievable. She loves your book. So many, anybody that's in Colorado. I mean, I've either given your book away, given your workbook away, told them to go buy it, gone to their house and got on their computer and made them order it.
Read it to them at bedtime.
This book is Tom Chenault's Bible. I swear. This is why I am what I am. And yeah, and I'm bad at it. I needed $20 the other day. Did I call Richard Brooke? No, too chicken. I can't admit to him I don't have $20. He'd have given me 100. Tony Canulli would have done the same thing. But guess what? I am too scared to call the people I love the most. And the people I love the most they would help me before any one of the 20 people on the street corner when I was out there with the sign need $20. None of them gave me money. So what's going on with you, youngster?
I just am so happy Bob's here. This is awesome. And
Don't you love him?
He's truly, Bob, we love you on a level you can't believe. So Bob, I've been wanting to ask you this question ever since I hung out with you last year in Dallas, because we're standing there talking to Bob, and out of the conference room walks this guy, Scott Schilling.
Oh yeah.
Who Bob knew, but what was so amazing, Bob knows everybody, so that was no surprise, but he knew Scott on a level that was really deep. And that's like the story of your life. So you interact with all these really powerful people, and yet you have these incredible relationships. How do you do that? And how can somebody who is not as practiced as you learn how to do that, to develop those kinds of meaningful relationships?
I think a lot of this is, as you both know, is written on your heart. And when you're around people who have heart, you're connected at such a higher level. And so you want to talk about things that matter, and people matter most. God taught us, our heart knows it, but some people forget and then they get their minds around doing business and doing stuff. And so, the first thing I think about is my dad taught me, and the fact that you and your dad are doing something together is just so heartwarming to me. Oh, and if I could actually, have my dad back, he would tell you this, that, make friends. That starts something that's so unbelievable. Help your friends in every way possible. And then don't be surprised if you do a lot of business with your friends.
Is that just the understatement of the year? And we're all doing the opposite, trying to trick somebody with a click or a funnel or some crud deal, instead of just getting related and picking up the phone and dialing it. Nuts.
And that's why I love contact mapping. So if you take something that you have an opportunity that you could remember a person and start to remind yourself simply that said, hey, I talked to him here. We talked about these issues. I remembered his wife's name. I remembered he had 3 kids. And that I value this enough to put it down as something important. That shows people you care. And Zig Ziglar asked me this question one time, and it goes totally Zig Ziglar contact mapping. This is what it said. He said, what do you think of this quote? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. What do you think of that, Bob? I go, I wish I would have wrote that. And he says, it's 2 words short. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them.
Yeah.
That's contact mapping. There it is. You care about people. People matter most. Write it down, remember them, and then, dang it, have a picture of them. Remember what they look like. Oh my gosh, brilliant.
All right, we're going to come back. I don't care about Kevin Thompson. You get the whole next commercial. Out of here, Adrian.
I can kiss him.
We can kiss him. All right, we're coming back. We are back. We got Bob Beaudine, and this is the Tom Chenault Show. I know you went and bought The Power of Who. You got to buy 2 chairs too. I mean, that whole book, the supposition in that book is you're sitting right here. There's an empty chair there, but really Jesus is in it. And that's where that's all your solutions are there. And I threw up a post last night similar to that, but I'll tell you what, this Bob Beaudine is all of it in a bag of chips. And there isn't one person on this planet that can't really, really benefit from what he teaches, because it's all about human connection. And it is the most important thing, right, Bob?
It is. I think sometimes we missed, and when I wrote The Power of Who, we missed the people that we were given in our life. We couldn't see them because we were so busy trying to do transactions instead of doing something transformational. Of course, when I wrote 2 Chairs, the opposite, the same thing was occurring is that, a lot of times I can understand people trying to find God and that they don't know him yet and they haven't really found them. But if you know God, is it possible that, I don't understand that you wouldn't think that he wanted to talk to you, that he'd like to guide you. And so the conversation in the morning is that wouldn't it be logical that he might have some battle plans? He might have some things that he wants you to do positively that could make a significance, because we're seeking that to help other people. And the problem is, the biggest thing is that we've got problems every single day. It's just overwhelming. Our health, our frustrations, our jobs, our finances, our this, wanting to get that deal and this. Wouldn't it be great if I could get you with like a Warren Buffett? Would that work for you for 5 minutes? Of course. But God himself would actually meet you. So the challenge of 2 Chairs is this so fantastic. It's a secret that changes everything. And that is that if there's a 1% chance that the guy who created the whole world would meet with you, would you go? I would say, let's go and see what that's like. So everybody's got chairs. There's one right there for you. I mean, set up a chair, say good morning, meet him first thing. Say, hey, listen to me, good morning. I'm a mess. I need your help. And then listen. I think, our world today, Lily Tomlin said it's okay to talk at God, but to listen, to hear God, that would be schizophrenia. And the answer is no, it's not. He wants to talk. He's got some plans. He wants to help you. He's not mad at you. He's not mad he made you. He made no mistakes. Let's go have a conversation. It'll be the wildest thing that ever happened to you.
You guys, if you just trust that, and get out of you, and two things, get out of your head and into your heart on both fronts, spiritually and with people. Get your agenda out of there. Everything shifts instantly. And all you need to do is remember that and just do the next right thing like Bob is talking about. And there's not one of you that can't adapt that today. I want to go back to the power of who, though, because so many people in network marketing, they think they have to sign up everybody on the planet. But that's just not the truth. It's, you need to sign up a bunch of leaders who are going to sign up a bunch of leaders who are going to bring a bunch of customers into your business. That's all it boils down to. And having relationships is the answer to that, because if they join you with a click, they're going to leave you with a click. Bob's book, The Power of Who, is going to give you access to the power that you already have. There's not one of you on this call that can't benefit from this book. And Bob, talk about how many coaches, for instance, that you've placed in college basketball and professional sports.
So, we've placed now 54 athletic directors in college out of the 100, which is just amazing, right? And we've placed over, 80 some coaches, and head basketball coaches, head top women coaches, head football, baseball. Now we're into volleyball and golf and tennis. I mean, the answer is, here's the key in all of this. Each one of those, Tom, came through a friend, somebody we built a relationship with, who then opened up doors for you. And my whole point to people is this: listen, you definitely got to get out of your head and into your heart. And you got to understand that you got who, that you have you have this community of friends that you've developed over years through love and unconditional giving that will come to your aid if you'd ask them. But we don't like to ask. And that's why I say there's 3 reasons you won't get your dream. 1, you don't ask. You ask the wrong who, and you're vague. Don't be vague. You can't think your friends should know by ESP what you want. Tell them what you want and say, do you know this person? Can you open the door and watch what happens?
You guys, you got to do it. We're out of here with Bob Beaudine. Go get the books. We'll be back. And we're back. You stay right here, Bob Beaudine. Don't you move. We don't need Kevin Thompson. He's a curmudgeon. We need you. You can bring Kevin on too. This is so fun. It's unbelievable. Bob, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Relationships, everything. I mean, I was thinking as you were speaking, here you've got all these coaches, and the coaches are your bread and butter. But the crazy thing about that is you got to the coaches through somebody else. And now you've got access to the coaches that open up literally anything in the world that you want, whether it's concert tickets, whether it's anything in life, because you have got such an unbelievable circle of influence. You can open up the doors to almost anything because you've treated that Rolodex of yours so well, right?
Yeah. And it's really going to my next book that I'm writing called Written on Your Heart. Of course, you'd expect that, right?
Yep.
And so that's coming around the corner. And here's the thought, you got to catch this. What if we can control more of what we can't see than what we can? And if we understood that, okay, it would not just change your outlook, it would change your day. And if you did it every day, it would change your life. See, we're spending time trying to see the change in people and things and budgets and setbacks and trouble when God wanted you to share your heart. What? Love people. You can't see it. Energy. The energy you bring to a room, the energy between two people is what makes great marriages, families, companies, and people need to get that energy. And of course, you got to have dreams. You can't see those. You got to have the thoughts that you have when you wake up, the confidence that you walk in a room. And so people actually respond to this. And so when you get your head, out of the way and let your heart, which there's a great quote in Proverbs 23 that says that above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Everything. Now, I mean, everything, I guess, means everything.
Wow. So Kevin Thompson, What's your father-in-law's name? The pastor.
Pastor Robert Dickey.
The pastor Robert. Hey, Bob, do you know the pastor Robert Dickey?
I tell you what, I'm going to from now on.
Yeah, he's written a number of books, and he's newly retired, actually.
But he was a big time guy, wasn't he?
Yeah,
still is.
So what's the book that he loves the most that he wrote?
Living for Christ, and it's basically simple principles that everybody can take advantage of to live a godly life. Just basic decorum, how to dress, how to communicate with people, those sorts of concepts.
Well, the measure of a man, sometimes you can see, is through their sons. Look at these two here. You can tell. I mean, I tell people all the time is people's personal environments, what they send out to you is invisibly transmitted to each person where you are. And the two of you, you just emit huge success and joy and peace and just this deep contentment. And so, they say if you honor your mom and your dad, you get great health and a long life. And I can tell you that all my success is loving and honoring my dad and my mom. And so it's so fantastic to see you do that.
Well, that is so fantastic.
Thank you.
Adrian, you're a stud.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Hey, Bob, we're down in Dallas next weekend for that ANMP again. Are you around?
I'm going to come see you. That's for sure.
Oh my God, we're so happy. This is so great. Well, you guys, thank you very much, Bob Beaudine, for being on the show. We love you with all of our heart. Contactmapping.com. We don't need to even talk about it. This is contact mapping. Kevin Thompson, spiritual guy.
Unbelievable.
Bob Dickey, his brother-in-law. Brandy Dickey. Is Brandy your wife, Kevin?
No, that's Bob Dickey's wife.
What's your wife's name?
Sharon.
See, I'm a terrible contact man. All right, you guys.
Going in there.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody, I'm telling you what, we're going to come on with Kevin Thompson right now. Make sure you're populating the shares and things like that, because this is going to be a tough talk, but it's going to be a good talk on the backside of this. Advocare, Bob Beaudine, you were really, you had huge connections to the Advocare and saw those friends of yours lose their checks. It was pretty tough on them, right?
Oh yeah. That's in life. I mean, one of the things that we know and have understood is that in this world you have trouble. And so, the measure of a person is now how you handle that now that you've been and you're going through that. So we can't live in a world without it. So we can't think that that's not coming. So we recognize some things that we can recognize it the next time when we see it. And we can remember, those who in our lives and our priorities to be able to reject some of the problems that we have. So all of that's good.
All right. Thank you, Bobby.
Blessings
And
on
we
you.
are back. It is the Tom Chenault Show, and we've got Kevin Thompson here, and it's an unbelievable back half of this show, and it's not going to end at the top of the hour, so you don't have to worry about that. But we will be on, obviously, Genesis Communication Network for this half hour. It's going to be intense. We're going to talk about Advocare, and I've talked about contactmapping.com during a couple of the breaks, but I'm going to talk about it right now, because I'll tell you one thing right now. Those people at Advocare might have lost their checks, but if they had any brains at all, they did not lose their Rolodexes. They did not lose their contacts. They did not lose their relationships. And if you can build it at Advocare, you can build it anywhere else. So whatever you do, don't give up. The end isn't here. You can rebuild. All you need to do is get back on the horse. This profession is fantastic. It needs to live on. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I'm going to be monitoring a lot of the questions and things like that, so Kevin can just freewheel, because I am telling you, we are under attack all the time. And what we want to do is be positioned where we can defend it, where we're united in good and professionalism, and that's where it goes. So Kevin Thompson, take it away. What do you think about this whole ball of worms that's going on?
We're learning by the minute what's going on. We haven't seen any statement from the Federal Trade Commission. We haven't seen the actual settlement. Here's what we know. Advocare pushed out a press release on Friday announcing that they were ending the network marketing model and going to a direct-to-consumer model. And that triggered a lot of responses. One of those responses from me. And then it started a discussion about, first of all, what happened, why Advocare. It led to a lot of speculation. And, after talking to some Advocare reps and learning more about what was happening behind the scenes, this is based on some good information. I still can't prove it, so disclaimer. There was a confidential investigation that's been going on for at least a year. I've heard as long as 2 years. So a subpoena was sent, let's say hypothetically at some point in 2017. Now that by itself is different. The FTC in most cases, they sue the company, freeze all the assets, and then you have to litigate from a massive position of weakness, which is what happened against Vima. It happened with Fortune High Tech Marketing, of course, Mobe, Digital Altitude, Burn Lounge, almost every single pyramid scheme case that you can think of, that's how they operate. Herbalife was different. It was publicly traded. They couldn't quite go in guns blazing. So there's a confidential investigation. So we had that here. And so my complaint is Advocare was in an enviable position. They were in a position that BK Barreco would have loved to have been in. Because in my opinion, BK Barreco actually had pretty good settlement terms. He was able to preserve his network marketing model and still operate to this day. The problem is he was shut down for almost 6 weeks, and that shutdown killed him. Advocare had 2 years to prepare for litigation. And worst case scenario, they lose and they pay a fine. And if they lose, they still, in most cases, will be able to preserve a networking model. It would have been different. It would have had some retail sales requirements, but they could have preserved the networking model. Here, they just chose to fold completely, very likely pay a significant fine up front, and just throw away the networking model. They didn't even try to defend it. And in my opinion, I think that was pitiful. Now, I understand that that's where smart minds can disagree. You might have an opinion, Tom. Friends of ours have different opinions. As far as whether the company should have folded or not. Here's the facts. They did fold. They didn't fight. Okay. Whether that decision was a reasonable one or not, that's where opinions can differ. And I think the community of networkers built up that company. The community of networkers deserved defense. Now, the flip side, and I know I'm talking a lot, you can jump in if.
No, you're doing fine. I want you to talk.
Okay. The flip side, let's play devil's advocate and try to look at it from the company's perspective. If they dig in their heels and say, FTC, come and sue us. We cannot reach terms. Come sue us. If they had faced litigation, a lot of their people would have left anyways. So if I'm on Advocare's corporate team, let's say hypothetically 80% of the group leaves anyways, and you're staring down a 2-year legal fight. Hopefully you win, maybe you don't, and you end up paying a fine and obviously changing your model. They just probably decided they wanted to get to, let's just cut to the end of it and skip the controversy. That was the decision that they made. I do know this on good information, that they didn't have to shut it down. The FTC did not demand you either shut down the network marketing model or else we're going to blast you. That Advocare had some options, and they chose the option that just completely blindsided the field. And that's what I have a hard time accepting, right? These leaders deserve to at least know that we're losing our checks. And my understanding, a lot of these leaders didn't know at all. Now, the leaders were aware of the investigation, and they were aware that there were some options on the table, but they didn't know that one of those options in Advocare's back pocket was just shutting it all down. That bothers me.
Okay, take a breath and read. Have you got comments there? Can you read a couple of these questions? Okay, I got it for you. Why didn't they look for a bailout merger for the company? What influence do you feel the class action suit had in their decisions?
I keep hearing about this class action lawsuit. I don't think it had much influence at all. I think big companies get sued class actions all the time. And these class action attorneys, they're trolls. You pay them, they go away. Fortune High Tech was under class action litigation. The FTC stepped in. I don't think there's a way to draw a direct connection there. That's par for the course. Jeunesse, class action litigation. They settled it for pennies on the dollar. Amway gets sued frequently, Herbalife. There's a number of pending class action cases out there, and the government typically doesn't swing based on class action litigation. I do think Truth in Advertising had it out for Advocare and was feeding the FTC some inappropriate claims, so I've been told. But that shouldn't intimidate the company to where they'd want to blow both of their feet off to settle the case.
Whoa. Yeah, so there's a comment. Richard Brooke just said he's got it on great information that the investigation had been going on in about 10 years, and the statute of limitations was coming up, so there had to be something serious happening, and that's what forced this whole card. And that might make some sense. I also heard that there was a possibility of once that guy Regas died, and the family ended up putting it in a trust, there was an investment from a hedge fund. And we all know what happens when the hedge funds get the big money in there. All of a sudden, any trouble shows up.
We're like, the analogy is three blind people feeling around an elephant, right? Putting pieces together.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I do believe that second generation owners, they were not as interested in the networking model as their father, the founder. And this is a convenient way to fold it up. And they think they can compete retail. For me, you can be so open-minded, your brain falls out. I can argue that the company made a great decision here, but at the same time, it's a symbiotic relationship. And without the field, there would be no company at all. And so I think the company owed it to the field to fight to the end, right? The only way you get a general off the field in a Spartan army is if there's a spear through his chest. They wrote a book on this, Joseph Conrad, called Lord Jim. It's about a captain who didn't go down with the ship, who saved himself and lived in shame because of it. I just see similarities here. And yes, how convenient for me to be an armchair quarterback. When you talk to these field leaders, and they didn't see this coming, they were aware of the investigation, but they didn't know that it could all end. I think it's shameful. And for selfish reasons, and I know I'm writing checks that aren't mine, it's the company.
Sure.
The company really could have defended itself. If BK Barreco were in this sort of situation, where he had 2 years to prepare for the lawsuit, it would have been a dramatically different outcome. Dramatically. Advocare had that benefit. And the FTC was going to have to fight really hard to get this company in a headlock to where it would want to write a 9-figure settlement check and dramatically change its model, right? That's the worst case scenario. Even in Burn Lounge, you write a check, you change your model, you can still operate. And just to do that day one, without forcing the FTC to really exert some energy, to me, troubles me. Okay, so the question that I think you've got is, what does this mean for the industry? There's not much to learn here, not until we see the settlement terms. My opinion, under the prior presidential administration, we had an aggressive Federal Trade Commission. It was what we call left-leaning. Do I need to stop?
No, you're great. I'll tell you when.
Okay. Because how the FTC works, you got 5 commissioners, 3 are from the president's party, 2 are from the others. And so they went after Herbalife, they went after Vima, and Edith Ramirez, the chairperson, gave some aggressive speeches. Those days are gone. New FTC issued guidance that was actually really favorable to the industry. And so it sort of led to this, I guess, malaise or euphoria. I don't know what word you can use. It was calm. There was calmness in the space.
Right.
And so that's why this case is so surprising. Advocare, when you hear of companies with problems, I talk about this business 5 hours a day. Advocare never comes up.
Yeah.
So when you see this, it's just surprising, which is why did the FTC choose these guys? And we just don't have enough information to answer that.
Well, it scares the heck out of me for everybody. It scares me for all of you. But it also reinforces the fact that product claims, income claims, this is easy claims is insanity. And the more that you can self-police, the better off you are. The more you are completely in line with what your company guidelines are, the better off you are. And I am just going to tell you that the wild, wild west that used to occur in this profession is long over, and you've got to err on the side of caution. Would you agree with that, Kevin?
Absolutely. I hesitate to blame the field, meaning we're assuming that the Advocare field was crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's that hard to find some inappropriate income claims in any company, just like I live outside of Nashville. And
hey, Kevin, I hate to do this to you. I got to cut you off for a second. We're going to take a quick break, do a little contactmapping.com chat with Adrian Chenault. We'll be back right after this. It is the Tom Chenault Show.
Great.
Hold the chair, little buddy.
All right.
Hey, Adrian.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you, man.
You too.
All right. So here's the speech on this part. Advocare, all those reps out there are completely stripped of their livelihood, of their checks, of their company, but they're not stripped of their two best assets. Asset number one is them. Asset number two is their Rolodex. And the name of the game is not be paralyzed by what happened to you. You're in a great profession. You still have your database. I promise you, somebody's calling them. It might as well be you. So get in the game right now and go to those relationships that you have developed. Look those people in the eye, say, I've got this, even if you don't yet, so you can go figure it out and take your team wherever it is you decide to go. But by all means, stay in this profession. And hopefully you have got something in writing on all your people, their contacts, their dogs' names, their cat's name. And that's what he's all about. Take it away, Adrian.
Yeah, what's so powerful, if you can go there, is that if you build the relationships, and you have built the relationships, then people, you don't have to know what the next move is. People are going to want to go with you because of the way that you care about them. And so calling those people up, even if you don't know what to do right now, and you're scared and you're pissed off and everything that you have every right to be right now, if you call people and say, look, I care about you, I want to figure out how to sort this out for me and for you, and let's go on a journey together. People, that's what they're looking for. They want to go on a journey. The reason they were in Advocare with you or with whoever to begin with is because they wanted to be a part of something. And so taking people to the next place and saying, I don't know what that place is yet, but let's go together, that's so powerful. And so being proactive in that time of being knocked down, I think, is so important. And if you're not in Advocare, which is obviously far more people that are watching this right now, it could easily be you. And nobody saw this coming. Nobody, Kevin put it perfectly. Nobody knew this was coming. And so it's all the more reason, just like you never know if any given day is your last, it's the same with your relationships. Be on top of those relationships, in looking after people, in following up with them, in checking in for no good reason, just to let people know you love them, because you're going to create greatness in your life and in their life as a result of doing that. And that's really what contact mapping is about. It's going to help you create better business, but it's really going to help you be a better person. And it's going to help you be, instead of, maybe somebody who's caught up in this whole thing, and you don't know whether to call them or not call them because you just feel like, now they're in the middle of this thing and I feel weird about doing it. Well, if you're calling your people consistently and checking in on them, then it's an easy phone call to make because they already know you care about them, and they're not having to worry about whether there's someone ulterior motive behind that. You agree?
Yep. I had a company do the same thing to me that happened to Advocare. And the following day, my phone, I actually had to hire somebody to handle the calls. 99% of them were with idiots telling me they were going to pay me $10,000 all the way up to $2 million to go to their company. And I wanted no part of them. I joined where I had a relationship. And all you have in your life is relationships in your Rolodex. And my company tomorrow goes out of business, which we never know. I'll guarantee you one thing right now. My relationships do not reside in their contact manager. My relationships are in my contact manager, which isn't even a contact manager. We call it a relationship development system, because what's in my phone are relationships, not a bunch of names and numbers. That's what I want for all of you. Contactmapping.com. Go to it. Love you. Out of here, Adrian. Thank you very much. You're a very good man. I feel like I've known you all my life. All right, we're coming back. It's Tom Chenault. This is the Tom Chenault Show. We've got Kevin Thompson with us, the man. And I'll tell you what, one thing I love about him, he shoots straight from the hip. All of you, I want you to go to the ANMP next weekend. It's critically important, the following weekend from this one. Why? Because what happened to AdvoCare could happen to you. What happened to AdvoCare could happen to anybody. He talked about Burn Lounge. He talked about Fortune High Tech. He talked about Vima. They're going to go make an example because they want to keep us taking the high road. That's okay with me. But I'm going to tell you one thing, everybody. You need to protect yourself out there, and your relationships are going to make you bulletproof. So whatever you do, get out there, do that. We're back with Kevin Thompson. Take it away, Kevin. I know you're on top of it.
Golly, where was I? You have to refresh my memory.
We talked about income claims, all that jazz, and how important it is to not be doing that.
Right. So regarding AdvoCare, a theme that I'm seeing out there is that the field was aggressive, or the field made inappropriate income claims. We're assuming they were making income claims. We were assuming that they were making product claims. Maybe they were. The point is, the government doesn't expect anybody to be perfect, right? Nashville's a great place to be. It's where we are currently. And cars get stolen. Houses get broken into. It doesn't mean it's a terrible place to live. The police, they cannot catch everybody. So you can have great compliance, and AdvoCare had compliance. You're still going to have some infractions. And the problem is people can take these compliance infractions, sort of compile them up and make it look like it's a bigger problem, or it's more of a cultural thing when it's not. That's the challenge for me. And in my opinion, the government has too much control here. Just hearing about some of the settlement demands, when the FTC can step in and say, either pay us this 9-figure settlement, or we're going to blast you and take advantage of our media resources and potentially sue your family and just make life hell. I think that's a bit draconian. And so what's being discussed currently politically is whether it's appropriate for the government to pursue these national injunctions, right? The FTC can go to California and get an injunction that applies to the whole country. So if you're operating in the Northeast, for example, in Maine, an injunction in California applies. And there's currently a discussion where that might be unfair, to where the government is limited to an injunction based on the district that they get it in. That would help, because they wield these low rent government employees wield way too much power.
There's no doubt about it. And people are talking about on the board, I just reading the questions. No, I don't want you people calling AdvoCare people and trying to enroll them. I want you to call your relationships and listen to them. If your company is a spot that those people are ultimately going to go, they're going to join you, which means they're going to join your company. When my company went down, I didn't give a rat's about any of those stories. I cared about my friends, and I finally had the chance to choose a new upline. And that was pretty cool too. So yeah, every one of you need to really, really pay close attention to the human being you are, and calling people and throwing up about them, about how great your company is and how bad AdvoCare isn't it. So don't do that. So thank you, Richard Brooke, for pointing that out. And yes, you did write the 4-year career, which is right up there. So, all right. Anybody else got anything for Kevin? FTC, yeah, we know
here's another downside, is that it emboldens the FTC. They know that when they show up, in most cases, the company is going to piss itself and write a big check. I mean, this industry, it's become an ATM for the Federal Trade Commission. Mm-hmm. Now, Herbalife writing a check, it makes a lot of sense. They're publicly traded, and literally they wrote a $200 million check. Their stock valuation exceeded the check amount in one day. And they were able to, they settled on terms where they didn't have to change their model dramatically. They preserved the networking model. Here, for AdvoCare to write a check and just, limp away, I think it emboldens the FTC to do this to other companies.
What about the DSA, man? The wonderful DSA. They didn't help Vima. I don't know who, that's as far back as I know them not helping. What are they there for? Why are people paying? What's that all about? Why is it that we just never see the DSA step up to the plate?
So I've got a love-hate relationship with the DSA. I think they provide some value, for example, on the front when it comes to independent contractors or lobbying Congress, trying to pass the anti-pyramid bill. They do some things that are helpful. Personally, I was a member of the DSA for about 6 years and I bailed. I talked to a competitor of mine, a colleague, and I said, look, if you're out, I'm out. And we both got the heck out because we just didn't get a lot of value. The DSA is sort of like a fraternity of companies and company lawyers. And so if you're an outside lawyer, you're not part of the club, which in my opinion, they should want us in the club because we deal with countless other companies and we deal with regulators more than they do. That's a separate point, kind of an ego thing. So they threw Vima under the bus. They're undoubtedly going to, I don't know what they're going to say about Advocare because Advocare was an esteemed member of the DSA. And I just, I don't know the value of a company being in the DSA other than maybe the brand value. But what is that worth now? Herbalife got popped. Vima got popped. Advocare got popped. It's almost, and here's the thing, it's almost a liability to be in the DSA because it makes you a more attractive target, right? Go after the high profile targets. Truth in Advertising has figured that out.
Well, they went after Team Nash. Okay, this show's over. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week. Keep going, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, Truth in Advertising's figured it out. Don't go after the small, tiny little startup companies. Go after the DSA companies.
Yeah, and it looks like Team National's lady was on the board. And Tina went after Team National pretty hard. Maybe that's their MO. Who knows? Again, it's about doing clean business. So nobody here is saying not to do clean business. Not too easy. No income claims. No product claims. So we're not saying anything else on the show. But we are concerned about keeping this profession in business, and that's what we're talking about here. So if anybody's confused, that's what the whole conversation is trying to keep everybody compliant enough and raise it to a level of professionalism that things like the FTC and people like that don't use us as fodder for taking shots out all the time, because quite frankly, it scares people. And with everything going on in the economy and people getting laid off right and left and what it costs to educate kids, people need to be able to make additional money out there. How are they going to do it? How the heck are they going to do it? How can the American Joe make a couple extra bucks other than working 45 jobs? So this profession has a place. We just got to keep the professionalism so high that those haters don't have any ammunition to try to take us down. So that's our goal here. So that's the goal for the show. That's the goal for everything. Back to visibility. Yeah, the DSA visibility. I think you're 100% right. I was trying to agree before I went off.
Yeah. No, you're right. Regarding compliance and elevating our game, it's the challenge is that we can never be perfect, and so that's where how much compliance is an appropriate amount. There's no clear answer. I'll tell you this about the critics. I think the critics should pay a price for being unreasonable. An example, a popular critic is Stacy Bosley. She's a professor at Hamlin University. I think is how you pronounce it. If you haven't heard of Hamlin, you're not alone. The cost of a degree there is roughly $200,000. Now she's critical of our industry and says, the odds of success are very low. What sort of wages do you earn with a degree from Hamlin? And great. I mean, college education is absolutely valuable, but it's not an option for everybody. Not everybody today can afford $200,000 to get a college education. So how about franchising? Well, in some cases, not some cases, most cases, the cost of starting a franchise business, $500,000.
Yeah.
$50,000 for a franchise fee, $250,000 for build out. You got to have money for payroll. You got to have money for inventory, and you're not guaranteed anything. So if we were to live our lives the way the critics want us to live our lives, we'd be walking around just shaking a magic 8-ball all the time, just relying on math. You know, what are the odds of me being successful? Oh, 20%. I better not do that. And what I love about this industry is that, you know, that there are things you can do to increase your odds. So as a college athlete, as a decathlete, you couldn't tell today, but back a long time ago, if I had gone to a different school, my percentage of being an All-American would have been dramatically small. Very easily could have said, you know what, the math just doesn't work out. This is stupid. I'm not going to do it. But there's things you can do to increase your odds. Where are the good decathletes going? Okay, now my percentage shot went from a 0.5% to a 10% shot. What university has better facilities? What university has better weather? I mean, there are things you can do to increase your odds. You're in control. This industry, you are in control. You can learn skills. You can join healthy companies. You can associate with good people that make good decisions. And right now, we're just an easy punching bag because we take shots, we don't shoot back. And I think that's going to change. The DSA needs to figure that out. This idea of being cozy with the Federal Trade Commission, it's stupid and it's not helping.
That's exactly right. And just, if, you know, we got the ANMP, which it's a band of married people. We get together, but we have no bullets in our gun. We might not even have a gun. We don't have the money. We don't have the ability. We don't have the cohesiveness to really, really raise heck. And the DSA isn't really doing that for us. We've got to get together somehow and become the voice that we are. Because if there's 90 million network marketers out there, that's 90 million votes in one way or another. We just have to unify instead of shooting each other. Don't you agree?
I would agree. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that lawyers miss when they're representing these companies. So these companies, when they get a subpoena from the FTC, in this case, a subpoena, or when they get sued, like in Vima's case, these companies go out and they hire the biggest law firm that they can afford. And the playbook's the same. It's, guys, you're screwed. I got somebody at the FTC, been working there for 10 years, and he tells me blah, blah, blah. And they settle and they write these ridiculous checks. My joke is I can ruin a company for a lot less fee than what these big firms are charging. And by trying to put up a fight, these law firms need to realize you don't have to go up against the FTC blow for blow, pinstripe for pinstripe. Take advantage of the network. In the Vima case, when Vima was sued, I was retained for a day. It was pretty funny. I think the main law firm didn't like how I was public.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe for other reasons. I have no idea. But in that one day, I was able to secure over 200 affidavits from people regarding their satisfaction with the product and their choice to buy for value, not buy to qualify for bonuses. That was the key point in the FTC's argument. And I had 200 affidavits. And the firm never even thought to get those affidavits, right? You have a network of people that you can tap into to help mount a defense, and they don't do it. And they're missing, they're not taking advantage of a significant asset.
All right, what about the crypto MLM world? What are you thinking about that these days?
It's a mess. Yeah, yeah.
You know, we predicted that 2 years ago in Amsterdam. And I will tell everybody that don't know Kevin Thompson. I saw this guy stand on a stage that was completely packed with people of a different opinion. And he was in a foreign land. And Adrian was there. And he spoke out at a level you wouldn't believe, to the point that I didn't want to sit next to him because it was hilarious.
Yeah, and that
good job. You know, you spoke your truth. Even though it was not popular there, you spoke your truth. And you were right. You know, crypto may work out. It's proven that company that was really represented there did not work out, even though everybody told you were crazy.
Yeah, I didn't speak my truth. I spoke the truth. And that company is under a criminal indictment. They have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. So crypto, it's gone through first of all, by itself, Bitcoin is an interesting asset and it's perfectly legal. If you like crypto, go to Coinbase, buy some, don't blow out your budget.
Yeah.
But buying through a networking model, it's not a good mix because here's the spectrum, okay? 2014, 2015 in our industry, there were companies that said, like the one you alluded to, Tom, we've got our own coin. It's a Tom Chenault coin, hypothetically.
Yeah.
And you can only get it through us, and we have our own mining machines. And it was a model built around this currency. Well, you can't have a model built around a $5 bill, right? Its value is already established. You can't do that. That doesn't work in network marketing. So those models were Ponzi schemes, were criminal. And they have slowly shifted, right? As these models, they come and go. Usually one springs up a little bit different and they say, well, we're better. And then they inherit the cancer, wash, rinse, repeat. And the models now, they're settled on this cloud mining concept where, just for your viewers who might not be familiar, mining is where you allocate your hardware resources to support the Bitcoin network. What do you get in exchange for that? The network rewards you in Bitcoin. And you might not know what you're doing. Your computer might be terrible and you can't. So cloud mining is basically, hey, as a company, you give us the money. We'll buy the machines. We'll maintain the machines. We'll mine the crypto coin, in most cases Bitcoin, and we'll send it to you on a prorated basis. So you're still getting Bitcoin, which is a real thing, but it's an unregistered security, in my opinion. Now, we give that opinion to clients when they want to do this. And when I see a recurring theme in the industry, we'll write about it publicly so people know exactly where we stand on the issue. We've done a lot of research and it's publicly available on our website. Go to thompsonburton.com/MLM attorney, or you can just Google search MLM and cryptocurrency and you'll find it. Or MLM and Bitcoin, I forget. Anyways, we tell people this is an investment program. You can be cute all you want to, but the consumer, their expectation at the time they hand you the money, they're expecting on there being a return on the investment. That's all that matters. And because of that, it's a security. And so what these clients will do sometimes, they'll go somewhere else, right? There's a source out there, a very popular source. Well, just go talk to this person. So they'll go to a competitor and the guy says, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And these programs go. And I think that's very dangerous. And so we're overdue for some regulatory action in that space. In my opinion, that's where serious fraud is happening, not with people buying weight loss shakes or dietary supplements. Another gripe I've got with the Federal Trade Commission going after Advocare is you've got billions of dollars being lost on vaporware.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I agree.
And they're going after a company with a 12-month refund policy. I don't understand their priorities other than they're trying to get, scalps for their resume. So when they leave their low rent government jobs, they can get a job at a private law firm based on some interesting cases. But I think they're missing the ball.
Anything else out there that you think is suspect? Obviously, crypto in any way, shape, or form tied to MLM. Anything else out there that's just starting to smell stinky that we need to worry about?
New You Life. We've got some litigation against New You Life. And not to get in the weeds, they sued two people, clients of ours now, one who was a Navy veteran, and they sued them for defamation. These clients of mine were talking about this gel and how potentially it was causing some serious physical problems. It's an HGH product. And some women were saying, I think I'm having side effects because of this gel. And our clients made some statements and they got sued for defamation. And even in the lawsuit, it says, if you just cooperate, no harm will befall you. The lawsuit's designed to silence these people. And that really upsets me. And so The Guardian did a story on New You Life. And there's some other mainstream publications out there doing research on this company. They're trying to get away from transdermal HGH gel and doing something with weight loss, but I'm not a fan. And we've got a case pending in early June on that defamation case. They were sued in California and we got involved. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, here's what I like about you. you lead with your chin. You are not afraid to tell people how you feel. You're not a chameleon lawyer. A lot of people don't like you. I have always had you shoot straight. You've been mad at me before. In fact, I heard you were mad at me the other day, and I called you. You were on a hike with your family, and you were at the top of the mountain and took the call and said, hell no, I'm not mad at you, Tom. I have no idea what that person's talking about. But going back to Bob Beaudine and contact mapping and all that jazz.
Well, time out. You know what? If I make people uncomfortable, that's their problem. And I think more people like me than they don't like me. But I, especially with crypto, I have made a lot of people upset. Yeah. And that doesn't bother me. You want to have the right friends and you want to have the right enemies. I don't mind if those guys are mad at me. I think they're stealing from innocent people. That should bother you too.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't like hypocrisy. If there's an association or a group that claims to be about ethics and integrity, and yet they give awards to people who don't operate with integrity, I'm going to call it like I see it.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, Kevin, I love you. And thank you for coming on. And thanks for spending an extra 15 minutes with us. The world appreciates you. You guys, if you ever have anything going on, I get myself in trouble, he's the guy I'm dialing. So I just want to tell you that. And he's just one of the good guys out there who believes what's coming out of his mouth. He just doesn't do it for a fee. And I love you. So Kevin, thanks a million for coming on. We'll see you next time, buddy.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye. It was a great